Detroit Lions had a bad season. Does that mean the window and the doors closing on the future? I say no.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions, the #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Dery with us. That's where you find us each and every day. Been doing Locked On Lions now for 10 seasons. And yes, while this year is basically done and the team's 8-8 and we're riding out the string against the Bears this Sunday, we are with you daily, bringing you the best Lions content that we can. We had a great talk yesterday with Colton Pouncey from theathletic.com, who covers the Lions. If you missed yesterday's show, go back and check it out. Don't forget about our Locked On Lions Everydayer Club, which we will tell you about. One of our everydayers I ran into today here at Parts Unknown on vacation, the legendary Jeff Weathers. Shout out to Jeff, Apple Barn Hard Cidery. Jeff is a huge Lions fan. I walked in today to his spot with my wife and some friends. Like, oh, Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. Remember me from last year. Big P1 Priority 1 listener. And also got to say hello to Rocky Birchfield of St. Clair Shores. Also a big Lions fan that we met today. Don't forget to find us wherever you get your podcasts. You know the drill. We got to talk today about this game because the Lions are playing Sunday against the Bears and trying to win. We'll discuss. Another starter, pseudo starter, is just gone from the roster. It's been that kind of a weird season. We will explain. And also, there was an all-rookie team at ESPN.com that was put out by Ben Solak the other day. And Ben listed about 58 players in his article, including everybody at each position and a backup, basically, for his all-rookie team. Everything from left guard to right guard to tight end, safety, everything. And he listed honorable mention players. I'm going to tell you how many Lions made his all-rookie team. We'll do that coming up again as well, coming up in moments here on Locked On Lions. Tomorrow, the crossover with Locked On Bears host a Touchdown Bears, Lauren Cox. Yes, the NFC North champs host the Lions on Sunday. All right, but here's where I'm going to start today here on Locked On Lions. We appreciate you being here. So I'm at lunch today here on vacation here down south, and we're sitting there, and it's a fine day, and there's TVs everywhere, as you know. Now that you go to any restaurant, there seems to just be TVs on everywhere. There were some bowl games that had started. Iowa was playing, and I think they're playing Vanderbilt. And First Take was on one of the TVs. And you had Mad Dog Russo, Peter Schrager, Marcus Spears. And the topic on their show on ESPN was whose Super Bowl windows are closing. And I don't know if it was Spears or Schrager. It was one of the two. Brought up the Detroit Lions. All right. Now the TV was on mute. There was music playing and no volume on the TV. But I could see, so I think it was Marcus Spears, the former defensive tackle. I don't think he's pretty good on TV. I like him. But he was basically saying the Lions window is closing. And I know how it looks this year. All right. And if the Lions go into Chicago this week and they're going to play their starters, we'll talk about that. They go in there and lose this week and finish 8-9 and finish in last place in the division. And with a loss, that would happen. You know, you look up and you say, man, what a disappointing year. Man, what a crappy year. You could use any adjective or verb that you want. Use any adjective to describe it. It was bad. It was bad. But to sit here and just pick on the Lions, whether you're a national guy, whether you're local, and just say it's over, the Super Bowl window is closing, I think is just off base. There is no excuses this year, whether it was injuries, coaching changes, coordinators leaving, Ragnow retiring, last minute, not giving Brad Holmes enough time. No excuses. This team underperformed. Dan Campbell has said it numerous times. Today he talked about the team basically crapped their diaper. These were his words today. He basically said you could sit there with a dirty diaper or you can change it and get back up for next year. And they believe that next year is starting this week against the Bears. That's their belief. I think they should rest their starters, but that's not what they're going to do. They're going to try to win this game, and they're going to try to sweep Ben Johnson. But to sit here and talk about the future and not think that this team can win a Super Bowl, let's say next season, I think is ridiculous. Last year, when the Commanders lost in the NFC Championship game to the Eagles, I looked at their roster and went, that team's window is closing. You want to know why? Terry McLaurin, Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, these are their best players. All old. Yes, they've got Jaden Daniels, and he's tremendous. Marshawn Lattimore, that Commanders roster is old. Who are the Lions' best players? Penei Sewell, 25 years old. Jahmyr Gibbs, 23 years old. Aiden Hutchinson, 25 years old. Sam Laporta, turning 26. Brian Branch, 24. Jared Goff, in his prime, 31. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 26. The only old guy on this team is Glasgow, who's 33. Now, Taylor Decker may retire. He's 32. But tell me who else on this team, the key players, the guys that are going to be around that you're going to lean on for next year. They're all in their prime. They're all babies. This is a young group. And while we want to sit here and talk about the Brad Holmes roster construction and the failures of the deadline and the failures in the offseason, it wasn't a good year for anybody in Honolulu Blue and Silver. Maybe not named like Jared Goff, St. Brown, Gibbs, Hutchinson. Front office coaching staff failed because the goal was to get to the Super Bowl. The team didn't make the playoffs. But that doesn't mean you fire the GM. You think he sucks. Why is it that everything we look at is great or sucks? And that's not just in sports. That's in everything right now. Oh, he's terrible. Oh, he's good. Terrible. Politics, everything. Oh, she's good. Oh, no, she sucks. No, what if can we meet in the middle on anything? The Lions had a lousy year. This sucks. But next year, they're going to be really good because the guys I named are all Pro Bowl players. They're all really good players. And they're all young. And they're all signed. Oh, but I think Brad Holmes should be fired. Oh, okay. If you think Brad Holmes should be fired, then I think you're ludicrous. He's built this thing. It's sustainable. They've got talent. Does Brad Holmes got to get back to work and he and Dan Campbell sit down and figure out what in the F happened this year? Absolutely. But you look at the talent. You look at the core of the roster. It's young and it's good. Who are you taking other than Jahmyr Gibbs to build your team around as running back? You're not. He's 23. Penei Sewell is a stud. He's the best right tackle the team has ever had. 25. Hutchinson, 25. These are lead dogs, man. These are really good players. Do you need to fill in and get a center and a left tackle if Decker retires? And do you need some edge rushers? And do you need some D tackles? Yes, you do. Probably need to replace Anzalone. My guess is he's going to be gone. You better figure out what safety looks like next year if Joseph and Branch can't start the season next year. Could you add a couple more corners? Of course. This team has holes. It does. But it also has studs and a lot of important positions and players you build around, and they're young. So to just sit here and, like I said, I was at lunch, and that's what these talking head shows do on ESPN or FS1 or anywhere else. They wanted me to bring up this today because I disagree with it. To sit here and say the window is closing is ridiculous. The Lions beat the Bears Sunday, and there's a chance they're playing their starters. That would be sweeping the greatest team to ever hit Chicago. Oh, when's the Caleb Williams statue going up? Oh, Ben Johnson. Oh my God, I just can't get enough of Ben Johnson. I'm just lathering up. I mean, oh my God. Ben Johnson's done a whale of a job, but this is not Vince Lombardi here. Let's see Ben Johnson win some playoff games. What he did this year is remarkable. Should he be up for Coach of the Year? Of course. Him and Mike Vrabel. Of course, those two. Top of the list. But let's hold off here on just killing the Lions and saying it's over. Run is over. Trade everybody. Start over. Dumb thing to say. And let's also not think that just because they're in this division with the greatest coach to ever grace Michigan Avenue in Chicago, Magnificent Mile, the Dan Ryan Expressway, Ben Johnson. Let's hold off here. I don't agree with window closing. I don't. All right, Dan Campbell announced today that Taylor Decker is going to try to give it a go, and they're going to try to win this football game on Sunday. We will discuss that next. Also, a guy that started a game for the Lions the last 2 weeks, started 2 games, gone. I'll explain that as well next on a Wednesday Locked On Lions. And the Locked On Lions for today are brought to you by our good friends at the GameTime app. Anybody looking for tickets to anything? I'm telling you, all right, you want to go to a playoff game around, maybe you want to go to Chicago and check out a playoff game, NFL playoffs coming up, not like being at a game, Wings and Pistons playing so well, crowd noise, energy, cheering alongside other fans. Look, watching at home is great, but being in the stadium or arenas hit different. The frustrating part has always been getting tickets, waiting in queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change right at checkout. That's why the GameTime app gives the advantage back to fans. It's a hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. All right, GameTime app. I pulled it up recently to check out some tickets. I want to go see IU Hoops play at Michigan State and Michigan coming up next month. That's where I go. It's just the best place to get tickets. The app is incredibly intuitive. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets took just minutes. And one of my favorite features, too, is being able to see the view from your seat right on the app. It's phenomenal before you buy, so you know there's no surprises when you buy your tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets or any tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today and get back to being there live. I'm back on Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Matt Dery with you here on a Wednesday edition. Again, if the watching on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel and occasionally it gets grainy or it's not the greatest feed, that is because, like I said, I'm in parts unknown on vacation. The Wi-Fi is not the best, but bear with us. Appreciate everybody being with us all week here as we get ready for the Lions and Bears. 4:25 start, Fox game. Yes, I'm being told Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, the Botox man, going to be calling the game. They get the #1 team here for the Lions and Bears. Not a lot of great 1 o'clock or 4:25 games on Sunday that have a lot of meaning. Of course, the big ones are on Saturday with Tampa Bay and Carolina, with the NFC South up for grabs, and Seattle and San Francisco for the 1 seed as well. But if the Bears lose and the Lions win and the Eagles win, the Lions would push the Bears down to the 3 seed, and the Bears would have to play the Rams in the first round of the playoffs. You would rather play the Rams and Matthew Stafford and that really good team, or face a Packers team right now in the 2-7 matchup. We know how banged up Green Bay is right now. All right, with that being said, I've been saying for the past 2 days, I think this game means absolutely nothing for the Detroit Lions. Whether they finish 9-8 and go, rah, rah, yay, we had 4 straight winning seasons. That's great. But I don't want to see Penei Sewell down on the ground on Sunday holding his leg. I don't want to see any of the key players for the Lions in a meaningless game that means nothing. The Lions are out of the playoff picture. And I get it. They are saying, all of them, Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, they all want to play. Taylor Decker, who missed last week due to an illness, Dan Campbell said today he's in line to play and wants to play. Graham Glasgow, who's missed the last couple of games, coming back with a knee and ankle problem. He wants to play. St. Brown has a knee issue. He's going to be out there. The Lions have made a decision. And this may be players, this may be captains going to Dan Campbell. They want to win. They want to play in this game and beat Ben Johnson for the second time and sweep the Bears. Think about this. The Lions haven't won a division game since week 2. Lions go into this game in the division 1-4. 1 win over the Bears, 2 losses to the Packers, 2 losses to the Vikings. And by the way, Minnesota might be losing Brian Flores, he might not be retained. He doesn't have a contract for next year. What are the Vikings doing? If he's going to be a defensive coordinator anywhere and it's not Minnesota, what a big loss that would be for the Vikings. How stupid would that be? Now, if he goes and gets a head coaching job somewhere else, and I think he should get another chance. But the Vikings might lose him to another team because he's not under contract. That would be front office malfeasance. But the Lions have made the call here. They're going to try to win this game, and they're going to play their starters. Now, Campbell did make it a point of saying they want to look at some of the other young guys, but they're playing for pride. They want to end the season on a high note. Jared Goff said the other day, I'm paid a lot of money to play, and I'm playing. I think it's risky in a game. And I remember, and some people say, well, wait a minute, Matt, a couple of years ago, week 18, the Lions were eliminated and had nothing to play for against the Packers in 2022. I disagree. The Lions did not know until that day the game had no meaning, but they knew it was going to be Aaron Rodgers, possibly Aaron Rodgers' last game in Green Bay, if they could knock the Packers out of the playoffs. And the Lions had momentum, and they were going upward. This team right now is plateaued at the moment. I'm going to watch this game, and I'm going to go, hey, look, if they win, great. I'd love it. Nothing more for them to stick it to Benedict. I'd love that. I'd love to make the Bears play the Rams. I'm rooting against the Bears. I'll tell Lauren Cox that tomorrow. But if any of these guys tears an ACL, and in a strange story of the year award winner, this one might take the cake. We told you a couple of weeks ago that the Lions had Eric Hallett starting at safety due to all the injuries, of course, to Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Avonte Maddox, etc. The Lions have had a lot of injuries in the secondary. We know this. And Eric Hallett started a game a couple of weeks ago, and to only be stuck on the practice squad, not elevated to the active roster, and the Tennessee Titans picked him up for their active roster. So it was like, wait a minute, Hallett starts a game, and I don't remember if it was the Green Bay game or Dallas, and then was gone the next week. Well, it's happened now a second time. Kingsley Eguakun, who started at center for the Lions the last 2 weeks and had a decent game against the Steelers, of course, and struggled mightily against the Vikings. Eguakun remained on the Lions practice squad, which means another team can pluck him off of their practice squad to their active roster. All right. Now, the Lions have a say in this. If they know a player is being courted by another team, they can elevate that player to the active roster before he leaves. They obviously didn't think much of Eric Hallett, or they just let Hallett go. But today, Kingsley Eguakun was signed here before one last game, week 18, by the Cleveland Browns to their active roster. Now they put Wyatt Teller, their starting right guard, on injured reserve. So Eguakun now is gone. So it's been the second time this season. What a weird season it's been. That a player starts for the Lions and then the next week is just gone. Now, Eguakun was only starting at center because Graham Glasgow was hurt. Tristan Colon was hurt. They've tried other things at center that have not worked. But the Lions this time did want to keep Eguakun on the team. But it sounds like, according to Dan Campbell, the Cleveland Browns have guaranteed Eguakun a starting spot. So today Campbell said, quote, he liked the opportunity, so he felt like that was the right thing for him, and I wish him well. I love Kingsley, man. He's a good dude, works his tail off, has here for a couple of years. But we're not going to lie to anybody. I can't guarantee a starting spot. We're not going to do that. I can't guarantee that. They guaranteed that, so it's all good. It's good for him. End quote. So Eguakun is gone and apparently is going to be a starter maybe next year with the Browns. I don't know if it's at center. I don't know if it's at guard, but it's kind of ironic that we're sitting here talking about the Lions and what they need for next year. And we've said it, like there's no guarantees in the middle of that offensive line. We think Mahogany's a left guard, and it's going to be the left guard. We think Ratledge is going to be the right guard. Maybe he's going to be the center. They talked about him at center before. Center, we figured Eguakun or anybody else. And I talked about Tyler Linderbaum yesterday. But Campbell was like, we couldn't guarantee him that he could be a starter. So he's just gone and heading to the Browns. So it's just a weird move. It's not a weird move for Eguakun. If he's going to get a chance to start in Cleveland this coming week and next year, good for that kid. But it's like he's one guy that the Lions actually thought would be decent and some depth. And because he wasn't on the active roster, but was on the practice squad, he gets plucked by another team. Roster construction not been the best this year from the front office. That is for sure. All right. ESPN.com did their all rookie team. Nearly 60 players got mentioned. How many got mentioned by the Lions, or how many Lions got mentioned in this piece? We'll tell you coming up next. Hey, but first, let's tell you about our Everydayers Club. Thank you for making Locked On Lions your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. All right. You get access to an ad-free audio feed right here for Locked On Lions, compatible with Spotify and Apple and every other major podcast app. Plus, you get an invite to our members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server. It's fun. It's like a chat room, which includes the group chat just for listeners of this show. And, I'm hanging out in there talking to you guys about the Lions, and we even talk during games. It's a lot of fun. So go to lockedonlions.supercast.com, lockedonlions.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. But join us with our Everydayer Club. All right, a really good piece I liked today from Ben Solak at ESPN.com. Good NFL writer that just recently joined ESPN. And he did his 2025 NFL All-Rookie team. He had starters at all the positions, quarterback, then he had a backup, everywhere else. So he had like 22 starters, then he had a bunch of honorable mentions as well, guys at each position that he thought should get mentioned in the article. So he mentioned about 58 players in this piece. So starters and backups at all positions. So like 44 and then, some honorable mentions. And just one Detroit Lion got mentioned. And look, there's not just, you don't have to be drafted. You can be an undrafted guy, a street free agent, whatever. Just to give you an example, guys like Tate McMillan, the receiver for Carolina, who's awesome. And Cam Ward was the quarterback. And Tyler Booker, for example, from the Cowboys, who was their first round pick at number 12 out of Alabama. He was the starting right guard. Tate Ratledge of the Lions is the only Lion that got mentioned in this piece. He was the second team right guard. And Solak wrote, Ratledge has been about as good as you'd expect from a second round offensive lineman. The shaky play around him has limited his ceiling, but he's a clear starter for the duration of his rookie contract. I don't think there's any question about it. Tate Ratledge next year is going to either be starting at right guard or at center. I'd like the Lions to go out and get a veteran center like a Linderbaum or somebody like that. Obviously, he's the best of the lot, but regardless, Ratledge got mentioned. And that was it. Not a single other Detroit Lion rookie, whether it was Isaac TeSlaa, whether it was Tyleik Williams, did not get mentioned in this entire piece. All right. Like I told you before, we're talking about a lot of guys getting, like, for example, at the wide receiver spot. Look, TeSlaa for a third round pick has done pretty well this year. But Tate McMillan from Carolina, Emeka Egbuka from Tampa, Luther Burden of the Bears, those are the three wide receivers that were the starters on this all-rookie team. And then the second team was Jahmyr Dyke from Tennessee, Patrick Bryant from Denver, and Jaden Higgins from the Texans. So 6 receivers got mentioned, TeSlaa not mentioned. As far as on defense, the Lions' number 1 pick, Tyleik Williams, of course, at defensive tackle. The D tackles that got mentioned in this piece, Deonte Walker from Buffalo, a 4th-round pick, was a starter. Elijah Roberts from Tampa Bay, a 5th-round pick, were the 2 starters. The second team, Mason Graham from the Browns and Walter Nolan from Arizona, who both, by the way, were drafted ahead of Tyreek. Several defensive tackles played more snaps and had flashier plays than Nolan. This is from the piece, such as Derek Harmon of the Steelers, Dolphins, Kenneth Grant, Chargers, Jamari Caldwell, Dolphins, Jordan Phillips. But they liked Walter Nolan instead. Here's my point on this piece as I read it. It was disappointing to see only one Lion get mentioned, Tate Ratledge. And I told you when they took Ratledge, he would be my favorite player and he would be the guy that would make the biggest impact this year. Now, I also understand the Lions didn't have all of their draft picks this year because they pushed a bunch of their chips to the table to move up to get Tesla. And for the most part, I think Isaac has had a good rookie year. He is part of the core and part of the future. But over the last 2 years, Brad Holmes' drafting has taken a dip down. And when you see these rookies and you see guys in the 5th round and 6th round that are getting mentioned higher than and getting mentioned more than players like Tyreek Williams and Tesla and others, you shake your head a little bit. Now, Miles Frazier, I'm a fan. I hope he's a part of the future. He's a 5th-round pick. He was hurt most of the year. But for the last 2 years, Lions drafts have not been great. And the depth has hurt. And the depth has hurt them in trying to win. And we need Brad Holmes in 2026 to have like one of his 2023 or 2022 drafts, because those were home runs. And I get it. You're rarely going to come up with another year where you get Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, and Brian Branch all in one draft. That was as good a draft as the Lions have ever had. And Brad Holmes, I tip my cap to you. But my point is, over the last couple of years, the last 2 years, the players that he's brought in have not made a big enough impact. Ratledge was good this year. He was solid. All right, tomorrow, Lauren Cox is going to join us from Locked on Bears. We'll do the Thursday crossover. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen. Don't forget to check us out wherever you get your podcasts and find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Locked on Lions at all of those spots. We'll see you again tomorrow.